Hello, Free Enterprise fans. Welcome to this race that promises to be really exciting and very, very interesting between moonblazewolf and zilch6. I am Endadale, and alongside Gundam Pilot Spaz, and for the front of the booth, and Pankraz and Imperial Dragon doing the restream and tracking duties. We're here to present you moonblazewolf at 0-3 versus Zilch at 2-0. How are you feeling tonight, Gundam?
Oh, I'm feeling great. It's Friday night. I want nothing more than to kick back, relax, and enjoy some free enterprise with two top class players here, uh, battling it out for their stake in the tables. Moonblaze Wolf hasn't secured a win yet, which is actually surprising to everyone who knows his history, and Zilch kind of defending his undefeated streak so far. So this is gonna be a heated one.
Absolutely. Blaze drew one of the more on paper difficult matches or difficult 6 game sets here, and he has just had opponents find crystal swords on him or just taken one wrong turn. There's not a whole lot of leeway in any of these matches, and he drew a set that definitely everyone kind of looked at and said, "Ooh, that's rough." So he has just been on a little bit of an unfortunate streak, just getting beaten by a little bit, having people pull some really nice gear out of places that he didn't check, and just having some super top flight opponents. And unfortunately for him, that streak doesn't end tonight because Zilch is one of the people who is absolutely pegged as a person who could go all the way here or go very, very deep. He is one of the pioneers of the 1200 HP strats. He was the first one to really work it out with any character once they got to 1200 HP who can defeat Zeromus. And then he's expanded it to doing 2 characters or even a full party all at 1200 HP and really done a great job of expanding what is possible with the game.
Yeah, I will maintain that 1200 HP strats do not exist. I don't care how many times people show me examples of them, but they are witchcraft.
Super neat, but also super neat. Those objectives. We are looking to find the sealed Lucas key, wherever that is, to unlock and complete the sealed cave. We do have to go all the way through it. We'll be defending Fagul for sure. We might be unlocking the sewers with the Baron key, and we also might be finding the adamant rock and the legend sword. We'll have to do 3 of those 4. So definitely be looking for some key items out of the seed.
Yeah, 100%. And that sealed cave objective is not one that you want to get at the very end of a seed. To have to do a long objective like that when you're about ready for go mode is just nerve wracking, and neither one of these runners want to be in that situation tonight.
And we are in a situation where we do have Yang to start, so we are going to be having the Punch Mage in our team the entire way through. We get a possible partner in Kane to start, and Bahamut hands us the Legend Sword.
And like both runners are going to be leaving that Kane behind, but he'll be hanging out in the tower in the Cydia, and he'll be an optional pickup later on. Not surprising. I mean, when you're already starting with a melee fighter, you don't want to pick one up immediately and crowd your party with people who are punchy. You need people who can do some devastating magic as well.
Yeah, you swap that Legend Sword for Defense Sword, and suddenly Kane becomes a lot more interesting. He'll get you through a lot of the early game at that point, but we're probably looking, as you said, for some mages. Would love to see a Rosa or a Paladin very early, just so that we can get a little diversity on the team, get some healing, get some black magic going. Definitely a little bit more. And as true to the kind of both forms, Zilch loves to do some early looting. We'll often see him go like 10 minutes before even entering Antlion Cave, completing his first boss because he loots kind of heavily early, just so he never loots again. And Blaze dipping into Baron. We do find Porum and a Lunar Sparkle there.
Yeah, so Zilch jumping into this Castle Eblin here. This area is, of course, treasures are weighted more highly than some of the more common areas. He's going to be pulling some tier 6 loot, avoiding those traps chests, but looting early does give you an idea of who you might want to bring along with you. So it's definitely an interesting strategy. I think looting versus grabbing looking for characters and who's available, like that's a big decision for the first few minutes.
Some nice stuff out of there. We saw Ninja Hat to adjust agility and get some extra strength. We saw a black shirt, which in 4.1 has been changed, so that does increase the black magic stat rather than the bugged white magic stat that the vanilla game does. And then Blaze looking for some information. We don't find a D-Mist there, I don't believe, in Mist Cave, so we're just gonna go to the Watery Pass.
Watery Pass being another one of those highly rated loot areas, but this one comes with our first character check here of this seed tonight.
Yeah, we get a nice baby Rydia to possibly join the team. She is a favorite to slingshot later on. Also, if you started with a Sylph summon, maybe got a Bahamut or a Leviathan summon out of any of these chests early, you'd be interested in picking her up because she can definitely do some hard carry. And I think Zilch has now found all of the trap chests.
Yeah, it looks like so. He should be free to just freely loot the rest of these chests. Ooh, and Gungnir Spear makes that cane a whole lot more valuable, starting off with that endgame weapon right away.
Yeah, not quite as good a defense sword as we talked about a little bit earlier, but definitely strong enough that Kane can do a good amount of work clearing the overworld for you. You'll take fewer turns getting through bosses, and that's really the advantage of doing this looting early, is that you spend a little bit of time to find the stuff that helps you beat everything a lot faster.
Yeah, because like we like Yang. Yang's a good. We call him a punch mage though because he gains utility through leveling, not through equipment, which is great. However, his first 10 or 15 levels, he's not doing that much damage. His utility really is gained after level 30 or so.
Find him some good damage if you get him a Thunderclaw. Ooh, and that's a water hag there at the waterfall. But if you find him a Thunderclaw and you're going against Odin, you're pretty happy to have that Yang in your team. But he doesn't do a lot for you in most fights for a little bit because he gets all of his attack power through levels. He gets multipliers through other means too, but his attack power, you just can't strap a cat claw to him because it doesn't really add any attack power, and that's what you really need to get the big damage numbers coming.
Looks like now Zilch is trading places with Blaze. He's going to go diving that watery pass, and we'll see what he decides with this Rydia early on.
Yeah, I imagine like Blaze, he'll also send her to the bench for a little while. As you said, she's someone who is great to slingshot. Not as nice as that Rosa that we see to keep in the party.
Yeah, do love a Rosa. I mean, guaranteeing yourself that a white mage on this flag set is a win, but the Rosa is the optimal choice for that.
Yeah, we love her for the aim command. Give her a decent bow. Stick her somewhere other than the middle. She'll do some pretty solid damage for you. She gets better HP growth than Porum. She gets better magic. Most spells that you care about late game, she'll get sooner than Porum. She learns Exit only when you complete Zot. She learns Berserk a little bit later, but it's outweighed so much by learning Cure 4 at a reasonable level, and White at something that is also reasonable and having so many more HP points. Ooh, another Rosa and a Demus, though. That's some nice stuff on top of hops.
Yeah, Blaze is entering a bonus round here, but we'll see if he might be able to have enough power to push through, but it might be a little bit longer than he would like.
Yeah, I've picked up Charm Arrows, Mute Arrows, and a great bow, so Rosa will be doing some work here. It will take a little bit of time just because Demus does have that cycle of 3 punches and hide, 3 punches and hide, and you can't do anything while Demus is hidden. And Yang, as we see, is just not doing a whole lot there.
No, I think there's only 1,500 health at this spot.
Sounds right-ish. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Low.
It's not a critical spot to remember that HP for. I know some of the scarier ones, but not the low-level ones.
Yeah, we do get a Porum and a Dark Knight Cecil sitting in Mysidia, so one vanilla character there, and then one character that we'll probably also leave behind. Why are we not interested in Cecil so much right away?
Yeah, so I mean, right in these flags and for the whole entire tournament up to now, we've had vanilla agility turned on. So in Free Enterprise, the character with the highest priority, which is that middle character, basically dictates how fast the game is going to be. It's on the ATB system, but on these flags, when you have that Cecil in your party, no matter where you place him, he is going to be dictating your relative agility. And Cecil is not a slow character. So you throw Cecil in your party, suddenly the game becomes a lot faster than if you have, say, a level 1 Rydia in that anchoring position.
Yeah, and by the end of the game, you're really looking to have a slow anchor to kind of even out because the enemies get so much faster than you. And then we do see Zilch going to Mysidia, picking that cane up, throwing that Gunjer Spear on him as well as that Ninja Hat, because again, that gives you a little bit more agility. If you throw Kane then in the middle, he'll be a little bit faster, which since it's early on, we do actually slow the bosses down that way. Ooh, and a Thunderclaw there too. Very nice for Zilch.
Yeah, I mean, Zilch picking up some characters that he wants early on is an advantage to him, but it may keep him away from this Mist Dragon check for a little bit if he's not interested in checking the character up on Hobbs. So if there's value here, Blaze could gain a little bit of a lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And in chat, Firebird Lover asking if Gunjer is a holy damage. It's not. I believe it is just neutral, as other people in chat have said. But it's pretty solid damage. It's what Equip and Kane comes in equipped with when he rejoins your party after doing the Giant in Vanilla. So it's close to late game. The White Spear and the Dragoon Spear are better, but you're not displeased to see that weapon.
Ooh, and we're Blaze picking up a pink tail from that bonus round. Unfortunately, not a required key item and not gating any additional key items. But Zilch picking up a required key item from the Outlying Cave and that Baron key.
Yeah, Blaze does find an archer bow, though, in the weapon shop there in Mist Village. That is the best bow we can find in a shop in the overworld. You do have the T Pro and S Pro flags, which does mean that we kind of limit the loot a little bit if you're used to seeing the group stages and the group flags from this tournament. The loot's going to be a little bit less good here. Won't see Elven bows and shops until we reach the underground, or a Zilch can behind that Baron key find one, because that is considered a gated item shop or weapon shop.
So Blaze picking up a couple claws for his Yang, gonna get his stats a little bit augmented with that Poison Claw, which does have a bonus to strength.
Yeah, the other super key thing with that Poison Claw is that it's non-elemental. Yang comes with a Fire Elemental Claw on, which is great, but if you run into, say, Pale Dim pretty early, that's really super awkward, because Yang is going to do a little less damage. And Blaze, blocked by the old lady in Kaipo, doesn't get his movement quite crisp enough to get through there without being punished for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, the NPCs are indeed the true final boss of Final Fantasy Free Enterprise. Ooh, Blaze is making an interesting choice here. Going to check the chest in the Chocobo Forest and then climbing Mount Ordeals. I don't know if he's just checking the character here. He doesn't have any characters so far that will be enhanced by completing Ordeals, a Cecil or a Tella.
Yeah, it looks like with him bypassing those treasure chests early, this is a character check, so he can probably reset if it's not someone he cares about. And Parm will maybe see you later. But yeah, as you said, Gundam, without that Dark Knight Cecil in the party, or without, since Blade doesn't know that DKC is going to be available here in Mysidia, and no Telescene yet, Ordeals is a little bit less attractive. We've seen the D-Mist, so we know that's not hiding up there. It's kind of a long check now for one possible key item. And as soon as Blaze goes and does Antlion Cave, he'll get that Baron key, which will suddenly make that very interesting as a possible check.
Yeah, so we've seen two instances of the White Mage Porum, but I bet our runners are really looking for her brother to bring some powerful black magic to this party. I mean, Rydia is a good black mage to slingshot, but Palom gets a lot of those more devastating spells earlier, specifically Quake, which helps out a lot in the mid game.
Yeah, with the party composition that we've seen so far, the available characters, we could end up seeing both runners pick up the extra Rosa, do a D machine or do a Mac Giant grind if we're able to find like Charm Arrows for Sale and an Ogreax for Kane, and maybe use a Porm to anchor. She starts off at a pretty low agility number, so she'll be a good anchor if she doesn't get any experience ever. And then you could have a double White Mage or double Bruiser party, which will clean up pretty well.
Yeah, that is one of the keys of being at this level, is that you get handed a bunch of random characters that someone of moderate skill might not be able to pull utility from, and you're able to take that with the right equipment and the right grind strategy and turn it into a Zerome's killing machine party. So
And Zilch doing a little bit of shopping here in football before he goes to defend it, finding some mute bells, which can be very nice to make enemies like the Baron Guards no longer be able to cast spells. Also useful for Warlocks on the moon if we happen to find any Sirens or do a manipulation to make sure that we get them. Blaze doing a little bit more looting in Antlion than Zilch does and finds that Guy Drum. That's going to be pretty nice. Should be able to one-shot this encounter here in Antlion if he wants to use it here.
Zilch running into the Plague and into football defense. Not going to be a tough spot for Plague. Plague is really probably the preferred Moon Sparkle to run into almost anywhere, because its script is pretty easy to manipulate, and Zilch through him without any trouble at all.
Yeah, Kane both being super speedy, being able to jump before Plague gets the count off, so even if Kane did not one-shot Plague, is absolutely able to jump over the count, which would mean Plague would have to recount again, which would refresh it for everyone. We just get a full moon, though, while we complete objective number 3 for Zilch.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, Blaze is going to be picking up his Baron key very shortly here, and I imagine we'll see a repeat of the football defense very soon on his side, and very quickly both of our runners are going to have 2 objectives down with about 15 minutes in. So that means it's a scramble to find that Luca key or the other half of the Excalibur.
Yeah, we still need a way to Zeromus, so we'll still need either a pass or a Darkness Crystal. And then we one of the cornerstones of the 1200 HP strats is to kind of have, we love to see vampires or Cure 3s. We haven't seen those yet, but we haven't done a lot of shopping, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah, I think with Zilch's low level strategies, I think the best bet for Blaze is if this seed ends up being really long. If both of those key items are gated somewhere on the moon, and it requires you to get out to level 50 to really start hammering those moon bosses.
Yep, and in chat load group, we're pointing out that also we do need a way underground. That's absolutely true. Both forging and completing Sealed Cave requires to get underground access as well.
Yeah, we've completed half the checks of the overworld. We still don't have, with a bonus round, and we still don't have our underground access. So with Zilch running into the Baron Inn, we're going to find out if this is the play, or if our runners are going to have to climb ordeals, even though they don't have one of those key characters.
Yep, and it still, of course, could be behind the Baron Throne, unless there is one of the blocking bosses. If Golbez, Valvalis, or Brain.
Wyvern.
Yeah, that's the one. If any of those 3 bosses, they cannot gate the only way underground. So if we do run into one of them, then we know that somewhere else will have our logical access underground. We have a little karate action here at the Baron Inn. It looks like we have some vanilla. Yang just wants to drink, have some tea.
Yeah, looks like Pancras forgot to randomize this part of the game.
It's okay. It's hard to get everything.
Sometimes things settle to the bottom. It's fine.
Yeah, we see on Blaze's side the huge difference that Gundry Spear made. Kane is not able to get off the jump in time, doesn't have that extra agility from the ninja hat. Just had the spear on equipped, it looked like maybe. But is now changing the battle speed, going to give himself a little extra time to enter commands. The ATB ticks go by so fast on battle speed 1 that even tool assisted speedruns will bleed ticks, so that they aren't able to get commands in as fast as possible to keep up with the computer. So Blade's going to come back in, hopefully gets it this time.
One thing about Free Enterprise that makes you forget some of like the keys of early Final Fantasy IV game is that most characters' starting items are terrible. and you're not picking, a cane without picking up a mid-tier weapon is nearly useless.
Yeah, but we do get that twin harp from the Baron infight. Fan favorite, a little bit of a long check, but we do have a physical party, which is useful for that because magic defense is so high there at Cape Magnus.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where with the right boss there, if you have an all mage party, that might be big trouble for you, especially with the permajoin on.
Yeah, little Big Trouble in Little Troya. Blaze being rewarded with his ninja weapon there. Full Moon is great if you have an edge, but because we have gated characters in this flag set, we don't see edge very often, and because of the kind of sparseness of loot and the less quality of it, we're not going to have as many good edge weapons as you saw in the group stage flags. So we see a lot fewer edges joining the team. Also, we've turned off the ability to steal sirens. You can still steal other great things, but no sirens anymore, so edge's utility just kind of goes down drastically.
Yeah, I mean, seeing an early edge on a group flag, that pretty much dictated how the pace of the rest of your seed was going to go. It's been kind of a huge adjustment not having that early power and that siren utility, and really we barely see our ninja friend at all in the table stage.
Yeah, it looks like Blaze is following in Zilch's footsteps. That call of the Baron key is just too strong to be able to do both Baron in and then probably Baron Castle right together. We didn't really talk about the shops here. We saw some neat things. Blaze does already have that Blizzard Spear. The Rune Ring and the Aegis Shield are really nice to see. They both give mage defense, and Aegis Shield also prevents the gradual petrification. They're really good gear, but they're also pretty darn expensive. That's why we saw both firms kind of check them out and then say, nah, not yet.
Yeah, with everything that's been taken away between the group stage and the table stage, a plethora of gear to sell to make a lot of money is also one of those. So, our runners have to be a little more careful how they spend their cash.
Yeah, although since we've also taken away some of those really good expensive items like sirens and hourglasses, you actually don't need as much money. It's kind of an interesting push-pull there.
Yeah, certainly. Like in some table seeds, if you can get an early crystal armor, that might be enough money to carry you through the whole game.
Ooh, hey, there's a heroine robe. That is great stuff to see from Rosa. That is a lot of extra power, a lot of extra strength, and agility for Rosa, and some really, really good defense. It totally tanks her magic, but when you're going to kill everything so fast, you don't really care.
Yeah, and that's if our runners don't find any additional characters who they like, then that second Rosa just became a whole lot more valuable.
Yeah, that too. This Mom Bomb is kind of a little obnoxious, but not going to be too bad, especially with Rosa. Will very much be able to tank the explosion and any hits that come afterwards. But you would love to have gotten Rosa up to Berserk at this point, because then you could just Berserk Kane and let him go.
Blaze is making his way through his vanilla karate man over in the Baron Inn. Having a little bit trouble here. I mean, that Yang is hitting himself pretty hard.
Yeah, this is a pretty high attack spot for the vanilla game, especially at the levels that we're at right now. We don't have really great defensive gear, and Blaze does not have that Gunter Spear or the Ninja Hat to kind of... Again, this is a slow spot, and the Ninja Hat gives extra agility. So with Zilch, Kane being in the middle, Kane being a speedy character anyway, and having that Ninja Hat absolutely helps Zilch power through this and just take less hits from that Yang.
So Zilch is through the main phase of the Mom Bomb and now just cleaning up these baby bombs here. That Kane is gonna make quick use of them. Was able to do a ton of damage with that Blizzard item, and Zilch is through this boss.
Yeah, Zilch doing a really good job paying attention to the HP, making sure that Yang was the character using that, because it is an HP-based attack item. Did about half of Yang's total HP. We find a Sid, so more people to hit things, but no real good finger twiddlers yet to join the team.
Yeah, that second Rosa is looking more and more tempting at this point, because while you throw a bow on and a heron robe on a Rosa, and she can do a whole bunch of power through mid game, if you do your grind correctly and get both your Rosas past level 50, they both have that white spell, which Zeromus does not like.
Yeah, I'm still probably gonna hang out with these three. These three can take me an awful long way, especially with the gear that we found on Zilch's side. Uh, So we can kind of go quite a while before we have to make any further commitments to the team because we are on permajoin. And hey, that's a party rock. That gets us access to the treasury in Troya, which has the only chance of an ungate of a tier 7 item without any trap chests involved. And also 2 more characters, as well as continuing the chain of possibly getting underground.
Looks like Zilch is going to be checking out who is sitting on the basement throne before moving on to any additional checks. We still do not have our underground access, and now that we have that Earth Crystal could contain our Magma Key or our hook to get us that access. So we're stuck in this chain of key item checks.
Yeah, we still have 3 possible open checks on Zilch's side that could give it to us. This Pain Man does not ever have logical access here at the Odin spot. It's too high level for us to be able to, for this to be logical. And that's probably not going to be something that's doable right now. Would need, I think, a little bit too many Cure 2s in order to get Young to survive that. But a few more levels, and that's entirely possible.
Yeah, because the randomization rates that as an underground spot, if I'm correct, right? Something like that.
Yep, it's too strong to assume that you can go fight through that, especially with most bosses at the levels that you're at when you are still locked by not being able to get underground and the extra XP you get from there.
Although I guess it could be gating a way underground, but it could not gate the only way underground.
Exactly. If we found, say, a Magma Key from that, we would know that there's a hook somewhere else at one of the places that is still yet to be checked, which is Ordeal's Twin Harp or that Earth Crystal at the top of the Tower of Zot. And NPC is doing a good job of blocking each runner. That lady in Troya loves to get in the way down that narrow hallway and make you dip into a store one more time. I think the merchants are giving her a tip. Like she works on commission or something.
I don't know what kind of shops you go into, but I don't know if I'm trapped in a store, I'm not spending more money there. Maybe if I get thirsty enough, maybe I'll buy a drink.
But we have Zilch going in, looking at that treasury. Chat, we get to rate this treasury.
You know what? For table flags, that's a pretty good treasury.
It's not bad. There's some good stuff to sell. That ninja shirt and crystal armor are a lot of money. That Stardust Rod is pretty nice to see. We got a samurai bow for Rosa, so her damage potential is going way up. Sylph, if we want to pick that Rydia up too, we could give Rydia Sylph Summon and Stardust Rod and be pretty darn happy with her.
Yeah, and we got that Dwarf Axe. We can back row glitch Arcane, make him a little bit more protective by sticking him in that back row.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only weapon that Kain can natively equip that allows him to attack from long range. And Final Fantasy IV, once you set the ability to attack from long range on someone, the game never takes it away. So as long as you can equip a long range on someone, and then if you're in battle, you have to take one action with it. Or if you're out of battle, just equip it and then take it immediately off, then that person suffers no penalty for being in the back row.
It's a very well-programmed video game.
I mean, I think that's a pretty easy check to forget, and they did a lot of stuff that was really fun, so... Yep, and we see Zilch very quickly do that glitch. We'll probably see, we see Rosa switch to the top spot, Gonna probably also switch to that samurai bow.
So as we enter the top of Zot and we get access to 2 gated characters, Antidale, who are you hoping to see if you're Zilch at this moment?
I don't know about Zilch. I'm hoping to see Tella and probably Palom. I would not object to Tella and another Rydia either. But Tella is the character I'm most interested in seeing, just so I can slingshot everyone up to crazy levels. But Zilch maybe has some different plans, depending on what key item he gets out of here. He might be interested in different character sets.
Yeah, once you start considering some of those low level strategies, your entire seed starts to look completely different from what I guess what I would deem traditional Final Fantasy free enterprise strategies.
Yeah, they definitely have added a new wrinkle. Nope, Pancraz, Zilch did not take Flame Dog. Zilch might be done just about opening chests for the seed. We'll see if he does any once he's underground, but I'd be surprised if he opens more than like 10 extra chests.
Yeah, he certainly has enough gear for the party members he's already decided on, and if his next party members are a couple mages, he probably doesn't even need anything else.
Yeah, Ed Will Tarkeen in chat asking if saying they haven't seen the mop himself show up in this. Is he stopped? He absolutely is. We're giving him a bit of a break after the Fabul Gauntlet. Occasionally, we just like to change up the flag set, make people experience the game a little bit differently, and so Fu is on a hiatus for the duration of the Threemus Zone. But do expect him back at some point. He definitely does. It changes the meta and what you look at in a seed when he's there or not. You can accomplish some things a little bit sooner, some things very differently when you have Fusoya. Your routing changes. So we just kind of like to push people into different paths occasionally throughout the tournaments that we run. And Blaze is through that Baron Inn, does have his party rock, and I believe is having a quick tent outside of Troya and should be joining Zilch here in Zot shortly. Might also decide to go do the Twin Harp that Zilch has faded so far.
And without underground access, I think the seed is pretty much dictating where our runners need to go. There hasn't been too much divergence so far.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, the Mono Deals is a little bit unattractive just because of the character set that we have so far. We get another Sid, we get another Porum, possibly joining the team. They'll probably join their clones back in the Tower of Wishes because they're not needed quite yet.
Of course, the terrible joke to our runners could be that magma key is sitting on that in that mirror room on the top of Ordeals, just laughing at all of us.
Yeah, how behind do you feel if that's the case for either of these runners?
Yeah, that would be pretty devastating. And no matter which of those first 4 overworld key item checks that I fade, if I go back there and it's value, I kind of feel foolish. That's why they're always in the back of my mind when I decide not to do one.
Yeah, for this particular seed, I don't think either runner feels too bad. Although, if it is Ordeals, you never know if maybe someone saw that Cecil and wanted to gamble on it. Blaze does finally pick himself up a Ninja Hat though from the vanilla Flame Dog chest.
Yeah, I mean, with being handed one half of the Excalibur as the very first action of the seed, I don't think it would be too crazy to gamble on a Cecil, but would prefer to if I was going to make that choice.
Nope, and Rosa and Kane doing some really great damage to that Mylon Z. Mylon Z, as the Earth Fiend, is weak to air elemental stuff, or things that kind of get coded as though they're air attacks, and arrows and spears both do that. So doing some really, really good damage from both of those weapons on Mylon Z.
Yeah, Mylon Z isn't scary nearly anywhere. Maybe the Feymarch spots he's a little bit scary, but it's kind of always a boss I like to see.
Yeah, he's real punchy there at Leviathan. That's a hook. So we do have a route underground. We probably still going to be looking for a magma key somewhere, but we can go turn in that Pigtail now. Without Cecil actually in the party so far, that Pigtail's a little bit less enticing. Most of the, like, you're really hoping for like an Excalibur or a Crystal Sword, but also an Avenger is real good stuff, and a White Shirt's pretty happy too. So even some of the other things you can get out of that tier 7 guaranteed loot, you have people who can use a lot of it.
I wouldn't turn up my nose at a White Spear or a Defense Sword either. Zilch making the choice to venture into Cave Magnus and take on the Dark Elf and his terrible spell instead of immediately diving that hook route. And this might be the first time we see some divergence, because at 31 minutes in, with knowing that there's a hook route in play, I would be really eager to start maybe getting a couple levels and getting underground.
Yeah, especially now that you have Exit on Rosa, having done Zot, which could have been a driving factor for both of these runners to make Zot the first Jack. You could be interested in going to check the character and see what bosses are there, gating your way underground through the hook, see what sort of gear you can pick up out of any chests there maybe, or what sort of things you can find in the shops there in Eblin Cave. So definitely have a little bit of interesting possibilities there.
Yeah, I am 100% more likely to do the harp check with a character with Exit than I am without. So maybe that's why it's being routed in here. Maybe Zilch never plans to come back to this part of the world map once they get their underground access.
Yeah, I imagine that Zilch would only plan to ever come back here with a pass and a need to go to Zeromus via that pass. Meanwhile, Kane and Rosa are both magnetized. Yang is going to throw himself at Dark Elf, and now we don't have to deal with Dark Elf casting anything at us.
And now we get to be serenaded by the very expert tunes of DJ Spoony B.
Zilch does a great job of making those D-Lunars not dancing mad, and does not use any of the fight commands themselves to activate their counter script. You would not want a better 3-character party to go through that fight with everyone having an alternate form of attacking that does not include any magic. That was probably one of the best bosses you could find there, and that great place for those D-Lunars and the seed.
Yeah, and a wonderful rendition of Kefka's theme on the harp. That song just always sends a chill down my spine.
Yeah, and we love to see that rat tail there. Now we can pick up the hovercraft, go turn in both of the tails, maybe hope to get a magma key from there, and then probably maybe check ordeals, or just head straight down. The party definitely should be good enough to handle anything that is in the hook route.
Yeah, with two tails, I'm a lot happier to have a hook this early in the seed than without them. We always prefer our magma route versus the hook route, but that rat tail could be gaining something very valuable.
Yeah, and also already having 7 key items only 35 minutes in is just a lot of things to check. Meanwhile, Blaze checking in with Silvera, got to be checking the item shop here and probably doing the Pinktail check. While Zilch does get the news, there is indeed second Rosa. So we've got, what, 2 Sids? I know we have 2 Porums, we've got a Rydia, we've got a DKC, at least 1 Sid.
I believe that's all the characters we've got so far. Ooh, that makes that Cecil all the more valuable, but maybe not valuable enough to have to deal with vanilla agility.
Yeah, it's darn close. We have seen a Drain Sword already, at least on Zilch's side, I believe we've seen a Drain Sword. So we do have some way to manipulate his agility. We get a Darkness Crystal. That is nice to see too. That's a way to Zeromus, that's a way to Grinds. That's another character check, another gated item shop check. So some good stuff behind that Darkness Crystal.
Blaze running up ordeals here, not making the same decision that Zilch did to go into Cave Magnus and pick up that rat tail. That could prove pretty devastating for him because, that music check is long. It's one that some runners just don't like to make. They think it's too much time and not enough value for one key item check.
Yeah, and Blaze at 0-3 might be looking at trying to avoid some of those longer checks that maybe don't pay out. You could also think about maybe making them a little bit sooner because they're gambly and you might need to gamble. But we do see Valvalis here at the top of ordeals. Rosa's aim will go straight through any tornado. Kane can jump. If we had a little bit more magic power, we'd be super happy to see her because she gets no magic defense here, even in tornado form.
Yeah, and if we did make this check way back when Blaze came up here to check the character, he would know that this is not going to be his underground access.
Yeah, it won't be his logical one. It still could be the magma key, as we've said, but not going to be the intended way underground.
And we see Zilch also making the climb up ordeals. I wonder if this decision is motivated by the fact that they both pulled an Excalibur and they have not seen a Tella yet.
It would not surprise me. Both runners do know that we have Cecil just sitting there in the Tower of Wishes for us. Excalibur is a heck of a reason to pick up that Cecil. We also have Crystal Armor. I don't think either runner sold it yet, so that makes cover strats very, very viable. That is will be the best defensive armor that we could find overall. Doesn't let you berserk the Cecil, but if he's covering everyone, he doesn't want to berserk anyway, so good news.
Yeah, a crystal armored covering your party is going to be able to get you through a whole lot of Mach Giants and successfully through that grind.
And we have a double dose of, no, this is not your intended way underground, go somewhere else, as we have Yeehaha, Golbez himself, guarding in the Mylon Z spot.
Sometimes free enterprise seeds just basically yell at you that this is not the correct way to go, and these bosses back to back, that is the message from the game that you should go somewhere else.
Yep, we do see another great property of that heroine robe, though, where Rosa is not held. So hopefully Rosa does not get eaten by the Shadow Dragon and is able to stay up and get an instant Star Veil here. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Blaze.
That's a commentator's curse if I've ever seen one, Antidel. I still don't think Golbez is not the rudest at this spot. I mean, Golbez is always slow, but there definitely are places I would be more afraid of him than right here.
Yeah, the magic is not bad. Seeing that virus take out Porum immediately almost would have taken out Yang. Yang though gets the virus up is going or gets the Star Veil up is going to be fine. Uh, Golbez doesn't have that much HP here. The magic doing some good work on himself.
Yeah, one thing always to remember with Golbez is that the killing blow does have to be delivered by a direct hit and cannot be deflected. So you do want to do some damage to him.
Yeah, Golbez not understanding that punching yourself repeatedly in the face is a bad strategy. It asks why, how did I possibly lose to just one simple monk up here? But it crumbles away. Yang gets 3000 XP, another level, and blazes through to the crystal room or to the tomb room, and we'll get a key item check shortly.
Antidel, are you suggesting that a Final Fantasy villain is self-destructive?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
And also not terribly self-aware. I know. Zilch also threw just a couple sets behind Blaze and one check up, so Zilch in a little bit of a lead overall so far, but definitely not insurmountable. Blaze does probably still need to make that check into the Cave Magnus, though.
Staying away with this Ordeals check with that White Spear, it will be a little bit more damage on Kane. Give some more damage to those. Was White Spear is as anti-zombie?
It's Holy Elemental. I don't believe it's anti-zombie, so I don't think it'll do too much extra to the D-Lunars other than just being a stronger spear. You could technically cast the white spell with it, or the holy spell, but it's a real bad idea there. But super good here, and we'll do extra damage to Dark Elf too. So definitely, Dark Elf is not in for a good time.
Yeah, I still struggle with the fact that just because something is holy doesn't mean it has extra damage on undead, and that breaks my brain.
Yep, Crystal Sword real good. Other ones pretty good. But oof, Kane with 2500 damage at like level 20 something is nice to see. Both runners will be just about side by side walking down ordeals. Zilch, however, has no place else to go other than straight pick up that hovercraft and go straight down to Evelyn Cave.
Yeah, so Blaze has an important decision to make here. If he decides to dive this hook, he's going to come out behind unless he picks up a pass, and the rest of their objectives are indeed waiting for us underground. If he decides to fade that harp check, he could be in real trouble.
Yep, and of course, chat is correcting me, noting that Zilch could go underground or go to the moon instead of going underground. I imagine that we'll see a quick check of the character at least before he makes any further decisions. The character and the boss.
Is Blaze ready to pick his fifth and final character? Not finding Atella.
He is. He avoids everyone on that first floor. I think that is a paladin time.
Well, you know what? I really like this play, but I do think it's a bold play considering we have a hook and we do have a character waiting for us in Cave Eblin. That could be somebody. That could be that Tella and open up the D machine grind. But with Cecil, we have Mac Giants. We have a couple other grinds available, and we just have to deal with that vanilla agility.
Yeah, and Zilch, remember something that both chat and I forgot. We've got a Dark Knight Cecil waiting for us to inflict a little bit of pain down here at the Odin spot. But with the levels that we've picked up, Rosa should be able to go pretty early. We'll be able to hopefully get a cure off and have Yang cure himself and probably get through this.
Ooh, so I really like this play. Zilch is going to attempt to take on this Dark Knight. I love it. It's great. Go ahead.
As I say, with those two cures, we should be good to go because Yang will get one more on himself. He's going to survive just fine.
Yeah, it's with plays like this that make me go from saying like, oh, I know a lot about free enterprise to, oh boy, I know nothing about free enterprise, because I probably would have faded this pain man here until I was at least in the 30s.
Yeah, it's some really good knowledge and remembering of HP totals, remembering how fast some of your characters are, uh, and we get just a light sword.
Light sword would be pretty valuable if we weren't already carrying around the Excalibur with us.
I mean, I'd sell it. To me, a light sword's not quite enough to want to take on vanilla agility and a Cecil, so I'd be happy to sell it for like 33k.
Yeah, it definitely adding to our coffers there and nothing more.
Yep, and Blaze, having already done a lot of looting already, has pretty much no interest in mining these chests, going straight to the character. We did see some Ether 2s, which are nice to see in the shop. We do see a CPU here. That's a kind of slow, annoying fight.
Oh wow, yeah, a CPU there. Like, if I'm gonna, any strategy against CPU is not gonna be fast.
No, this might incentivize me to go back and check to see if there's anything interesting at Cave Magnus, because this is real slow. And then once you do that, also you have a Darkness Crystal in hand. That makes other things a lot more appealing, like going to do a grind, doing Max Giants with this team. He'd be able to do it pretty easily, or just go to the moon and maybe clear some stuff there too.
Yeah, it looks like. I imagine Blaze is going to be back rowing his Cecil if he already hasn't, has that back row glitch cane. So we're going to be doing max damage to the main body of the CPU, but even with that, it's going to be a slow fight.
Yeah, it's just a lot of HP to get through, and then you'll be interested in leveling the Cecil up in order to get him to do some pretty appreciable damage, which now means that you are kind of stuck with his agility going up too, which is one of those double-edged swords.
Yeah, see, I mean, CPU is a winnable fight anywhere, but it is also a slow fight unless it's at a very low HP spot. But here at the Rubicante spot, this is 24,000 and a half HP, and yeah, it's just going to be a slog.
Yeah, it is a lot of getting 10% of your HP taken off every time that attacker attacks. Blaze does have a couple of white mages though, so we'll have plenty of curative on hand. And runs into those mad ogres that I'm sure he was looking for on purpose.
Yeah, for Blaze's sake, I hope that he's just gonna take the mad ogre chest, gonna get this little bit of experience, and then maybe see what's waiting at the harp, because I think he's only losing time here not having that darkness crystal already in his back pocket.
Yeah, but I don't think Blaze backs out of here unless there is a super rude boss that he can't get through in the King Queen Upland spot.
Yeah, I guess what's the worst case is evil wall into CPU would be probably the worst.
I mean, that'd be kind of gross, but with that, Cecil gonna get levels and more HP, and we'll be able to cover people. I'm not too worried about an evil wall, I don't think. Especially with Hero and Rosa doing some pretty solid damage and zerking herself too.
Yeah, cover stress will get you through there, especially with that crystal armor.
Yeah, and 20 extra levels on Cecil. He'll be at level 21. We'll have, 1,300 HP or so? Maybe a little bit more even. Hey, another light sword.
The sea just keeps handing us stacks of money.
Gitcoop Zilch did see the Cecil already, I believe. Pretty sure he went into Mysidia. It just has not too much interest. He seems to just be wanting to press forward. He's got 3 good characters. He doesn't really need anything more quite yet. Doesn't want to lock himself into any particular party choices.
It makes it a really tough decision when you have a hook route and you have permajoin on, though. Like you still have a lot of gated characters left. I mean, Zilch could even go to the moon and see what the gated character is there, but he's just deciding to push through.
Yeah, Zilch might not be terribly interested in the cutscene to summon the whale and the going up to the moon, seeing a character. That is a lot of time to invest And if you feel like you can just push straight through, why bother investing any time in anything?
All right, we have Blaze encountering the elements here at our King Queen Eblin spot, and skipping the HP refill at the halfway point and pushing through it really fast. So now we're going to enter this very ugly CPU fight.
Yep, first fight went fast. This one's going to go a little bit slower. We maybe just see a quick go back and save, even though this isn't dangerous, in case you do something kind of silly and maybe kill both the globes and have to deal with that. It's not a horrible idea to go back and save, but Blaze knows that he doesn't really have a whole lot to fear here as long as he doesn't make any major mistakes in fighting this fight. It's just going to go straight through.
I'm not sure I love the decision to take Porum here, but I imagine that Porum is going to be a dedicated white mage, while Rosa is going to be slinging some arrows.
Yeah, I imagine we don't see Rosa zerking anybody, but we do see Porum doing some cure 2s on people, just making sure that everyone's topped off. It has enough to go on when necessary to just kind of clear out all the damage that the attacker is going to slowly put on this party.
Looks like Zilch just having fewer characters, failing to get the HP refill skip. Probably won't slow him down too much, but definitely is taking longer in this fight than Blaze did.
Yeah, but by the time you get to Valvalis, she is weak to pretty much every element, just for how their script works. So Yang doing 500 damage, Rosa doing a lot here. Goodbye Valvalis farm, goodbye elements. Zilch is also through.
With that, that combination of the jump and the Yang punch is doing a little over 2,000 damage. That's actually a lot more than I would be expecting Blaze to be doing with those two characters, and then the Excal Cecil is going to be pushing through. This fight might not take as long as I kind of feared.
Yeah, I've definitely had worse party compositions through this that make it real slow and boring. This isn't going to be too bad. It's just also not the dream. There's still a lot of HP to go through. That's entirely possible. Barabbas the Brown. Zilch might be looking to do some Zerk strats here. I probably don't think so. He just has fewer characters, so we'll take more hits from the attacker because he'll be doing a little bit less damage overall. Doesn't have that Excal Cecil in the 20s to do some really solid damage. So, and he only has the one white mage, so only has one person to throw whole party cures. Otherwise, we'll be relying on cure 2 pots. So it'll take him a little bit longer. I totally understand wanting to save and not have to redo an elements fight that you fought all 4 forms as well. I'm also not sure when Zilch saved last. It was probably just before the elements, but in case he didn't.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he didn't save before taking on that King Queen Ebon spot. It could be a rude boss there that would be unexpected. But I do like that we're not seeing too much divergence in routing, but we are seeing divergence in our party composition and strategies here. Blaze taking a full party, doing a ton of damage. Zilch preferring to stick with his 3-party team and doing a kind of bit more some cheeky strats against the CPU.
Yeah, it's been a fun thing with this flag set, both kind of just learning how to deal with permajoin because we don't play with it too often turned on. And just seeing what everyone likes to do, who likes to fill up the party soon so you don't have to worry about decisions anymore, who likes to kind of run a little bit lean. Sometimes you can get an advantage from just having only important characters go. But then sometimes you pick up Excal Cecil and he suddenly becomes a very important character.
Yeah, I honestly really thought I would hate permajoin, but once you swag walk into Dwarf Castle with just a Porum and a Palom, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a freeze on Zilch's side while moonblazewolf is through, is finally to the underground at about 54 minutes. We see a Mylon variant sitting there at the tower. So top of tower is going to be pretty free no matter who that is.
It's going to be Mylon and Friend. We've already pushed through our Mylon Z, so
That's correct.
Yeah, so Moonblazewolf could make the decision. Well, now with that information, has that spot in play, and I don't, Keyless Tower is a cheeky strat. It's something that maybe Blaze might be thinking of to make up a little time here.
Yeah, it could definitely be something that you decide to route in real fast. Mylon and Friend is a little bit slower than Mylon Z just because all of those lit 1 counters. So you may or may not decide to do it from there, but it will be an easy fight whenever anyone decides to do it if they are forced to. Excal was at the Pinktail flurry. So both runners have turned in the Pinktail. Both runners do have an Excal. Just Zilch doesn't care about Excal Cecil.
Blaze here, running right into the Fame Arch. Going to check his freebies here. Pulling just a spoon out of that chest. It's without an edge. Not going to have much utility, but it does count towards his 10 key items.
Yep, and can sell it for about 5,000 gold, so it's something. But the most important thing, as you said, is that getting closer to 10 key items puts him to 7, I believe that is. And 10 key items is when you started getting double experience for every fight. So definitely something our runners are hoping to get before they do any grinding or any long grinds up on anywhere up in the giant maybe, or taking on moon bosses, just to make the levels fly by that much faster.
Yeah, so I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think the big question I think everybody's thinking is, as Blaze is doing some standard routing here through the underground, but the big question is when does he route that music in, if at all? The longer he takes to route it in, the more he potentially can fall behind. He's ahead of Zilch here, getting into the underground, but still behind because he does not have that darkness crystal.
Yeah, and Zilch has taken down the main CPU. It will be taking down the attackers soon. We do see Dark Imps and an Odin. Dark Imps at Leviathan are not free, really, unless you get some way to stop them like an Hourglass. So they're going to hit real hard, and you don't have a whole lot of time to size or stop them in time. That Odin's also a little bit mean, will punch pretty hard, has a decent amount of HP, and the Zentetsu's an attack, which is absolutely going to wreck every party at the Asura spot.
Yeah, the only real defense against that at low levels is getting that cane in the air and hoping that he stays up there while that Zentetsu goes off.
Yeah, and Chad is reminding me too that we do have a cover Cecil online for Blaze, so we'll be able to weather some of those punches. But even so, back row Cecil's still taking a decent bit of damage from that, even with the crystal armor. I think he'll probably take 400 a swing for a little bit. As he gets a little bit better geared too, it'll be better. But I don't think it's something you do immediately. It's something you'll come back to do.
Yeah, and the Fey March is a great place to do those cover strats. You can walk through those poison spots, get everyone down to 1 HP, heal up your Cecil, and then he is a covering machine, getting you through anything that punches hard.
Yep, Blaze doing the quick check into Anyang, sees him in the underground, goes up to visit Sheila. We'll see what Sheila 1 gives us. Meanwhile, we do find illusions here in Tomra, which are nice to see.
So depending on what we pull from Sheila 1, I mean, Blaze is going to be faced with a bunch of single key item checks, and will be interesting to see where he routes from here.
Yeah, none of them super appealing. That's a Marsame. That's not too happy. We're just going to reset out of that. Dwarf Cast is a little bit slow just because it's 2 bosses, a character check that he can't do anything with, except just be sad at if it's someone he would have wanted to have in the party instead of Porum. It's pretty good XP though, and pretty easy to do, so it's probably why he's here. He's just refilling at the dwarf pot. It looks like he might be doing a little bit of loot on the way in through this back road.
I mean, ratting through the underworld is not bad. I mean, that all of these checks, as slow as they may be, they're still faster than that harp spot. And of course, that still depends on what bosses we get here. We can get something really rude that'll slow us down, but not today.
Nope, that is Edge's parents, King Queen Eblin there at the doll spot. They're gonna just cast some fires at us that aren't really gonna hurt. They're just gonna give us a nice warm feeling, and then we're gonna get 20,000 XP for our trouble. Still picking up an Elven Bow. I think we saw Elven Bows for sale also here, somewhere underground, and I believe there's also an Ogre Axe that Blaze had picked up in the Land of Summon Monsters shop. Which is going to be very, very useful for Blaze's grind, I think, since Blaze is very, very likely to be doing a Mech Giant grind.
Yeah, chat asking if this is Odin or King Queen Evelyn, but the easy way to remember is that they're the same sprite, but Odin is red and King Queen Evelyn is blue.
Yep, and Odin has just switched summon spots, is sitting at the Asura spot, and I believe people are saying that a form of guards are at the Golbez spot behind this, so this is going to be a very, very free dwarf castle.
Yeah, those guards would have been peaked on the top of Zot.
Yeah, and since we already did Sea Kaipo guards down in Antlion, we know it's the Baron guards, and with the Elven Bows in hand, Rose is going to have a good time. That's because the guards are mage-type enemies, and the Elven Bow hits for quad damage against any mage-type enemy, which includes also Rosa and the Magus Sisters.
This Golbez spot is also a high XP spot relative to how much health that it has. So get one life, get a couple of those life glitches off, and we can get a small grind here too.
Yep, and we're able to use those meat bells really fast. We see a Palom try to join the party, but Blaze is full, does not have room for that Quack Kid. Quack Kid would have gotten Quake off of this too, or at least darn close if you got one life glitch.
It does. I mean, Blaze's party makes me nervous just from the lack of black magic. I get nervous whenever I don't have a black mage in my party, but I think Cecil's gonna be able to do enough damage, and that White Spear Cane will make up for it.
Yeah, and Blaze could even forego a grind. Still just getting the bad news that there's just a Mursami from Sheila, but I don't think saved in an appropriate place, so he's just not resetting back out, so doesn't get that little bit of a time save from just resetting back to the underground. But Blaze, it could be strong enough to just go straight up to the moon if and when he does the Twin Harp. It's looking like that Twin Harp is going to be very much required. We do have still a total of 4 key item checks before we know that for certain, though. We could get the stuff that we need pretty soon, but as each check happens and we maybe don't get a pass and don't get the other pieces of go mode, it just makes it more likely that we're going to need to we'll get a reprise of music.
Luca wearing a Zeus gauntlet around her neck today. It won't be a key item. Sometimes Luca's fashion choices are a little bit baffling.
Yeah, but Luca, I think, maybe have been wanting to pick a fight with some giants, because one good thing about those Zeus gauntlets is they do give you extra defense against giants. So that Cecil for Blaze, if he throws them on for a Mech Giant grind, will easily cover, take no damage, or take one damage per swing from the Mech Giants. We don't have to worry about Blank on Rosa. We don't have to worry about anything in that fight other than just knocking down giants as fast as we possibly can.
You can basically live in that Mech Giant grind for as long as you want.
Beowulf, unfortunately, Zeus gauntlets cannot be equipped on Rosa. Rosa never gets the ability to wear them. Rydia, however, can pick them up once you go through Dwarf Castle.
It's a confusing game.
There's just a lot of detail, but we do have Blaze climbing the tower. Blaze still has that Twin Harp to check, doesn't know it's a Darkness Crystal, and this is definitely far, far more appealing than dealing with Dark Imps at Leviathan or the Odin at Asura. Although we do have the Thunderclaw available, I think, so that Yang getting a couple more levels will do a good bit of work against that Odin.
I do like a keyless tower play. When it works out, you feel like you're on top of the world. When it doesn't work out, you can just reset back down to the bottom.
Yeah, it's overall not too costly of a check if it is something that you want to keep. The XP is pretty good too, but Blaze probably doesn't really need it.
And Zilch for the the difference in party composition is really not that far behind Blaze at this point.
No, not at all. It's pretty much about the length of that Twin Harp check. There's a little bit of difference beyond that, but not too much. So it just goes to show how much that if you just lean into very strong characters and get a seed that lets you do it with a small party, you don't really lose a lot of time. It's been something that's been really, really interesting to see and learn as part of this adventure with Permajoin.
And the benefit of having character spots open is that Zilch was able to add that Palom to his party.
Yeah, you love to see Pelham here, especially with that Stardust Rod in hand and the ability to bluff. Pelham will do a lot of work in a Mac Giant grind if we do go that route for Zilch, or also just do a lot of work at Zeromus if we even have to do low-level strats. Pelham can do some really, really great things if you take the time to bluff him up.
Yeah, and if we get a life glitch off here, Palom is about to get 60,000 experience or so.
Yep, not going to get a life glitch off though because we do want to actually get a life on the kid, but we'll get a cool 50,000 for him, or 40,000, so not too bad. Picks up 9 levels, that'll get him to level 19, so he'll get up to Virus, a little short of Quake. Oh, that's true. Pankar's pointing out that we don't have 5 characters. There is no slingshot available.
Ah, that's sneaky.
We're so used to having 5 characters at this point that kind of already did that math.
Another wonderful result of Permajoin.
Now, my favorite sneaky play in your flags was, say you picked up a nice Sid early, had an Edge and a Tella. All of a sudden, that means most of your other characters you pick up, especially early, are going to be slingshot. So you can get a nice slingshot of Rosa, say at Fabul or something, get 10,000 XP for her instead of the normal 5, and suddenly she's a little bit higher level than you would have expected. But that's a quick reset from Blaze up at the top of tower. Looks like it's just Bacchus wine, according to Pankraz, our restreamer. Not the dream.
Not the dream. Don't hate it, but I'm not going to walk it out of the top of tower.
Not with 2 white mages, I'm not.
I miss Bacchus wines so much. I miss just walking into a store and buying Bacchus wines. Those were the days. We were so spoiled on group flags.
I mean, it's got to be harvest season again. Who knows how often grapes actually grow in the underground? So it's a little bit hard to have that available all year round. We just kind of ran out their stock.
True. It's also the lunar wine was really the ace wine. Don't want that dwarven wine is kind of overrated.
Yep, Blade's coming in. I don't think Blade's checked this Odin spot before, so does not know it's Pain Man, but should not have too much trouble with all the extra levels he's picked up, and with the amount of HP Cecil and Yang should have on his team. This should be pretty straightforward for him to just kind of sit through 3 Dark Waves.
Yeah, this isn't going to be any trouble for him, but he's only going to be rewarded with what was down here. Nothing, no key item, right?
No, I don't believe it was a key item. I think it was a bit of womp womp. Yes, a lightsaber. So Blaze has already picked up one of those from the Mad Ogre's chest. Does not need a second. Only has 1 Cecil.
Yeah, but I think if he's routing in the Baron Throne, he's probably going to route in that Twin Harp now, and he's going to feel a little bit behind.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zilch is going after the bosses down here in the Fame March.
Did Zilch not pull his spoon yet?
He did, I believe.
Okay, just needs to be updated. I was just checking the tracker.
I'm pretty sure he got the spoon. Either way, it's not a huge deal if he didn't, except just for the fact of he'd be still one shy of double XP. So we'll see if Rosa gets this size off. If she does, this will make this fight very, very free.
You love to see it.
Yep, tiny imps are going to do no damage really. It doesn't matter that they're in a very high attacking spot. The size mini spell does great wonders for reducing any of their damage to piddly small damage numbers. Ninja Debugger, I'm not quite sure it's a lucky routing choice for Blaze here at this point. He's kind of exhausted all of the interesting checks for him. He probably doesn't really want to dive into that Fame March quite yet. So I totally get him wanting to do this at this point. But we are going to get a good reprise of that wonderful Final Fantasy VI music, and Blaze is going to be absolutely rewarded with the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, and I don't think Blaze takes he's not going to take a pause to do that Mac Giant grind. I think he's going to probably just go for it and start clearing some moon checks. He might be at a disadvantage if this Fey March does turn up one of those required key items, though.
Yeah, Blaze definitely has a team that can handle some of those fights up there and start accelerating without actually doing a grind. And then the same team might be able to just handle Zeromus without doing a grind too. So it would definitely be a very interesting choice and something that you might do if you're feeling behind. Unfortunately, Blaze does not have the kamikaze that Zilch does, so is going to have to deal with Dark Elf attacking him, suck up a little bit more of his time.
Yeah, I do forget that when we're dealing with a party of that's going to be mostly Zerkers, we don't need to be in the 50s. We can really enter Zeromus low to mid 40s, and if we're careful with our healing, we can push through.
Yeah, the main sticking point with that's going to be just dealing with vanilla agility and how much you might want a little bit extra levels on people who aren't Cecil just to make them faster. He's a pretty speedy boy, and the only one who's going to outspeed him naturally on this team is Kane.
But I think there's a little something on my boots, Antidale. We're going to get a reprise of Kefka's theme. So Blaze expertly taking care of those D-Lunars. On Zilch's side, he was finally through those Dark Imps. Rosa rewarded with the pan and is going to be able to get 2 additional free key item checks. But Blaze, he's going, as soon as Blaze turns in this Rat Tail, he's going to get his Darkness Crystal and has some interesting grinding choices to go from there. I think that the getting that darkness crystal from the twin harp, which you were rewarded with a good half hour ago, that's a key for me to get to that moon as fast as possible. And the Sylph is going to reward Zilch with the Adamant.
Oh man, you love to see it.
Yeah, Zilch is officially in go mode.
Yeah, gonna be a little interesting to see what Zilch decides to do for his Zoromus fight, whether he decides to go ahead and grind at all. I know he's not a huge fan of it if he can avoid it, and we have seen Cure 3s. But it also wouldn't be too long of a grind if he decides to go do it. He will have 10 key items here. He'll actually have 11 or 12, I believe the count will end up being. 11, as I count on my fingers and toes one more time.
Yep, he is currently at 10 key items, so the crystal will push him to 11. But he's ready for his grind now if he should decide to take one.
Yeah, and Zilch definitely knows how to do the 1200 HP strats without vampires. If you have a total of 5 people running, you don't need them. You can absolutely just do it with Cure 3s and other little attack items, or like crosses or other things to get the counter nukes going. The vampires are really nice. They help. They'll make it a little bit faster, but you don't need them.
And kind of like I expected, Blaze not wasting any time raising this whale. Really, actually raising the whale before Zilch, even though Zilch has had the Darkness Crystal for nearly 30 minutes now. But he's probably eager to get to that moon and start doing some checks. And I don't know. I mean, those Dark Imps in the Fey March are going to be tempting for me to do before I actually start to clear the moon. Because once I'm on the moon, I really don't want to leave.
Yeah, and Zilch has an absolute fire sale. Most everything must go. Buys a couple of apples, probably to help Palom get up to 1200 HP. So we are probably looking at the 1200 HP or 1200 HP strats. I imagine that we'll see. Yep, there's some more Star Veils. We'll probably see a pickup of Porum for a great agility anchor.
So, Antidel, we've said that Zilch loves these 1200 HP strats, but do you want to kind of explain how they work?
Yeah, we'll see exactly what variant Zilch decides to use here. But if you have just a solo character, you're really looking for those vampires because they'll kind of help you heal up as well afterwards. But it's similar to Edward strats, to where you're doing some form of magic attack to Zoromus that makes him counter with a nuke. And since you have a Star Veil up, it's going to bounce the nuke back at him. With the right timing with a single character, which involves some battle speed 3 and some nifty menu tricks that Zilch should figure out the timing for. You can guarantee yourself a nerf every single time. As you get more and more characters and you switch to battle speed 6, you just go full out. You don't really care about any special tricks because everyone's tossing everything as soon as you possibly can. You don't need to have vampires. You don't necessarily even need Cure 3s. They make it a lot more reliable. But it's a similar concept to Eddie strats, except instead of hiding from Big Bangs, you're nerfing Big Bangs, because as long as the Big Bang is nerfed, there is no Big Bang that will do more than 1200 damage to you.
Okay, so really, you really want to don't not be at 1200, but 1201 or more.
Yeah, I mean, 1200 is the most the Big Bang is going to do to you. Looks like we're going to pick up Sid. We do have a Dwarf Axe, I believe, still, so that's going to be the anchor. Sid has a lot of HP too, so that's kind of nice to have. We'll see if we get any more levels out of Zilch, or if he's good to go at this point.
Moonblaze diving into the lunar subterrane. The only key item that he could find here that will get him into go mode is that Luca key. And if he's able to pull it from the ribbon room, he'll also be in go mode. But pulling the Luca key means he has to complete that dungeon completely in order to complete that objective. So unfortunately, even if Blaze is able to pull the perfect key item with his first check here, he's still going to be pretty far behind.
Yep, and Zilch also finds pay dirt with vampires on the moon. They do speed this up because they'll do about 400 damage per shot and also heal, so he doesn't have to worry about cure 3s nearly as much as he might have without them. We probably see 2 big bangs, I think, at most from Zeromus, and then he'll be dead on Zilch's side. And we do see a trip over to the Hairdryer's chest, going to get a little bit more experience on his team, just to kind of finish up the levels for him.
I love that in this tournament we're seeing a lot more of these kind of uncommon grinds. The hair dryers, the reaction grinds, like these. Like there's a lot of tech in Free Enterprise that are coming out because of the interesting way that these flags work.
He might be able to get his agility to 0, but you're not terribly interested in it. Sid's agility at 1 is plenty good enough for everyone to be at relative agility 1. You don't need 5 agility 1 people. 4 is plenty. You don't even need 4. You can do this with 3 or 2 or even 1. You just need someone at RA1 in order to really kind of pull this off.
Blaze, while Zilch is encountering these hair dryers, Blaze taking on an antlion here at the ribbon room. Antlion is a pushover in his vanilla location, but on the moon he can be a bit of a troll.
Yeah, he can be pretty darn punchy. We do, however, have both Kane, Rosa, and Yang here, who all have alternate ways of attacking without drawing that counter. We're also at a high enough level that's not going to hurt too badly. And Cecil is able to cover someone. We'll get some more covers coming out pretty soon. We got lots of blinks, so this team is fine.
Yep, PK Zilch is at 10 key items.
Yep, he has forged. He should have picked up the crystal already, so it should be in the inventory, even if it's not currently lit up on the tracker. And should have completed objective number 1, I believe, as well, because we did see him get the Excalibur from Kokol. We finally get a check at who is sitting on the lunar dais, waiting very patiently for most of the seed for us to show up. And it's an extra Cecil.
That makes sense that a Lunarian would be waiting on the lunar dais.
Yep, but party's full. Cecil, get out of here. We don't need you. We don't want you. We don't want your agility shenanigans. Go away.
Seems harsh, Antidale, but I'll agree.
I mean, Cecil did a lot of work in Football Gauntlet. He's done a lot of work here so far. He can take a couple of seats off with his vanilla agility. And the fact that Zilch has sold both of those Excaliburs that were in his inventory. Meanwhile, Blaze still getting through this antlion. Not a whole lot of trouble here, just going to take a bit of time. Those counters doing a decent amount of work, going to need some cures, but has all the blinks up. This is just a little bit of a slog, but something his party is absolutely capable of handling, and we'll get a good bit of XP from it.
So our Eddie strats would typically take about, I think, 17 minutes if executed well, maybe more than 20 if a little slower. How much time are we talking for 1200 HP strats?
It's somewhere for, I think, the variant that Zilch is going to be doing, it should be around 12 or fewer, I believe. You just sit through so many fewer Big Bangs and reapplications of Star Veil and other things. You go slower because he probably is going to battle speed 6, would be my guess. And that will let him get both the Crystal Toss and 2 Star Veils up before the actual transformation goes. Or at least the Star Veils will be queued up. And then you'll just be putting in actions as fast as possible, not losing any ticks to menus drawing and stuff. And it becomes a very, very safe fight. Like, this is actually, as much as weird as to think about, this is a super, super safe Zeromus fight.
With the way that these flags have worked, an early go mode is very, very common on these flags, and so that's one of the reasons that Zilch has been favored in this tournament, because of how he's worked out these 1200 HP strats. So it's a treat to see him flex this muscle here and get a taste of what we may see a lot in coming into the round of 16, assuming that the Zilch is able to pull it off here and make it to the next part of the tournament.
Yeah, and I know something that Zilch likes to do, but might not be doing this time around because he only has one Palom, is Palom can do about 3,000 damage to Zeromus with a direct cast virus, which will then also create a counter nuke. You do have to spend a decent bit of time bluffing Palom up beforehand. It's definitely worth it when you have 2 or 3 Paloms. With 1, it's a little bit more questionable on whether you want to take all that time, battle speed 6, just to bluff a Palom and pass turn around everyone. Because while Zeromus Shake does remove any buffs like a haste or a slow, would remove a Star Veil, doesn't change status modifications or stat modifications like like the actual bluff is. So is able to keep would be able to keep all those extra 16 plus 16 to his black magic stat throughout. I just don't know if it's going to be worth it to him in this particular fight because of only having one Palom.
But Zilch is quickly entering the Zeromus fight, and Antidel, I think that we have to ask our famous question at this part of every Free Enterprise seed, which is...
where's the Zamboni?
I believe it's whose butts are we going to kick tonight?
Oh yeah, that's a real good question. I like that question. Pair of keys for Blaze behind that antlion though, Magma and Tower key. So he's at 10 key items also. Probably feeling a little bit behind though, getting that Darkness Crystal so late. We'll see if he decides to go chase after that Tower key right away, or maybe looks for another couple of key items before going back to Earth.
Somebody lost their key ring there. I don't know who.
I think it was Fu before he decided to go on vacation.
Oh no, moonblazewolf running into the nope rope. That's not going to be a speedy fight.
No, this is a pretty punchy spot. Ogobo going to do a good bit of damage. Meanwhile, we have Shinryumis, who I think is Final Fantasy 5 or 6 as an extra boss in one of those games.
Yeah, definitely don't recognize him from 6, so it must be 5. That's on my list of shame, unfortunately.
But we see pretty much everyone having Star Veiled up. We're getting some vampires tossed out here. So this is how this fight's going to go for a little bit. Zilch, I think, normally buys about 18 vampires. I don't remember if that's what he got this time. But we're going to see a lot of vampires tossed at Shinryumis, get a lot of counter nukes, and just kind of work through this fight slowly and deliberately.
You did say this is one of the safer ways to encounter Zeromus. Is that just because of how many heals you're able to get in between the counter nukes?
Yeah. So each vampire should get you about a 1/3 of the health back off of the nerf Big Bang. So each character will be able to fully heal up before the second Big Bang. You don't have to worry about any healing directly. You don't have to take any turn to do anything else other than throw vampires. You can count all the damage to make sure that you stop before you would tip Zeromus, and then can switch to a different form of drawing on those counter nukes. It's just super repeatable. There's not a whole lot of RNG here. When you're at battle speed 1, it's very, very easy to do all at RA1 on your characters. There's really not a whole lot that can go wrong here as long as you're just doing the thing, which is throw vampires until you're out. Make sure you don't go too much damage, and then switch over to your next spot. There is not, like I said, it's super repeatable. It's super pretty easy. It's not as tense as Eddie because one mistake doesn't actually kill your party. It maybe makes one person do one fewer thing than they could have.
And if Zilch didn't find vampires, because they're definitely not guaranteed on S standard, right? Then what would be the way to trigger the counter nuke?
You can use anything. You could use the crystal if you want. You could use dancing daggers. Palom, if he didn't have vampires, Palom would probably be throwing viruses right now. And then eventually you might be switching to like crosses or I think diet food works. Pretty much any of the HP or of the kind of heal light variants, even a heal element or heal item would work. Anything that you can toss as an item that would deal would count as a magic attack against Aromas, including the crystal, will draw the counter nukes. If you don't have vampires, then you are looking for Cure 3s or at least Cure 2s. It becomes a little bit more frightening in that particular instance. Because then you have to really worry about making sure you're healed up before the second Big Bang, and you're probably seeing a third Big Bang even at that point because you've had to worry about healing. It's a little bit scarier without either Cure 3s or vampires, but as soon as you get one of those two, you're pretty home free.
Well, Blaze, dedicated to clearing the moon now and encountering this Octomom, and at a pretty rude spot. Octomom pretty fast in most locations, but after a couple hits, he'll slow down to a kind of more manageable speed.
Yeah, this is pretty much a fight of managing the first couple rounds, get Octomom's tentacles down a little bit, so then just the Berserks and Blanks can keep up and you don't worry about it too much. Yeah, this is a pretty rude moon overall. We've seen Ogopogo, we've seen Antlion, we've seen Octomam, a lot of punchy bosses at spots you don't want to be punched. And Zilch just slow and steady through this, continuing to throw those vampires, continuing to get the party healed up after that first Big Bang. Everyone's still alive because everyone's north of 1200 HP. We're not worried about the rest of this fight, probably. We're getting down to the number of vampires that are left. Zilch tends to buy the exact amount that you kind of average out to wanting before you would actually tip Zeromus's HP total, which could be why Palom isn't doing any direct virus casts, because then that would change that math a little bit. And then once he's out of the vampires, he'll switch over to something else that will get those nuke counters without refilling Zeromus's HP. Meanwhile, moonblazewolf is down to one technical on that Octomam, has a couple people zerked up. This fight is just pretty much over. We just gotta wait for Octo to realize it and perish and give us our key item check.
He's a stubborn octopus, like most of the Final Fantasy octopuses are.
Yep, we thankfully don't have to fight 3 times though, that Octomam, but some more good levels for Blaze. Neither runner actually having to do a grind during this run.
Oh, and Blaze getting his final key item as the Luca key, and he is now in go mode.
Yeah, Blaze probably feeling pretty good about his choices overall, not doing a grind. Feels probably a little bit bad about getting up to the moon later than he could have with that pretty free and easy fight against the D-Lunars at Cape Magnus in order to get the Darkness Crystal, but goes through the moon without having to do a grind, is now in go mode, and he hasn't seen it done yet. So at this point in time, Blaze probably feeling okay about this. Unfortunately, Zilch happened to take a little bit faster route through this seed.
PK coming in with a bit of a fun fact that Zilch's name comes from the fact that he is very good at Zilch strats. That's some history for you. And silence from you, Antidale, on that one.
I mean, yeah, it's time machines are awesome. Zilch's brain might be bigger on the inside, I think. Now, what's the worst boss that Blaze could see here?
the absolute worst boss. I mean,
Yeah.
what is his? I mean, what his party is in probably early 40s at this point.
Yeah. So we haven't seen Wyvern, have we?
We have not seen a Wyvern. We haven't seen a Kinatsu, who would do some damage here. Would be pretty fast, but I don't know if I think Blaze might have the levels to take care of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Kinatsu. You could always just throw the Herald Robe back on Rosa if it's taken off of her, and get her to Zerk someone up pretty fast. But let's hope everyone put your energy towards Blaze so that Blaze does not have to see a Wyvern here. Let us give Blaze a nice free path through the rest of the seed. Yes, get your Freen blesses out in chat like Scala does for Blaze here.
Unfortunately, I did not catch the time in which Zilch entered this fight, so I'm not sure how far along he is on these 1200 HP strats.
He's getting towards the end. He's already gone through his stack of vampires, and if he had enough money to buy his normal 18, that should get him through about 40,000 worth of damage, near-ish. So he's on the back stretch. Hey, bike is not too bad. It's not super happy, but not too bad.
No, with no black mages, that the wall's not going to be a challenge to him, and shouldn't have too much HP on the spot either.
No, punch is not too bad. Rosa's casting out those berserks, getting the team nice and angry. Cecil is going to just punch things down real fast with that Excalibur.
Ooh, and I think we have a lack of flash, but a shake here as Threemus, if I said that correctly, slowly fades into the void, and Zilch finishes in first place.
Yeah, GG's to Zilch, going to 3-0 in this round, completing also a 3-0, matching his 3-0 in the previous round. Oh wait, no, he had to go through the Magma round, so not quite a perfect run through the tournament, but a very, very good one so far. And we'll soon be seeing if we get Zilch in for an interview.
It's I think we've had a lot of upsets in the Threemus Zone tournament so far, with a lot of great runners not even making it into the table stage. But the power of the competition and the way that the tournament is formatted, it's just a lot of good runners are getting bad luck, and Blaze is really a top runner, but just mixture of bad luck here in the tables is just not working for him.
Yeah, your heart definitely goes out for Blaze, who was, I believe, one of the quarterfinalists in the FF4FE Gauntlet, is a wonderful runner. Just happens to be running into people who are playing seeds just on a little bit tighter line than he's chosen. He's not getting quite the right choices for a particular seed. He's not making bad choices or wrong choices. Just other people are getting into the end game a little bit faster than he is, unfortunately, so far here in the table rounds.
And we are joined by Zilch. GG's, Zilch.
Thank you.
So, thoughts on that seed?
I don't know if you guys remember that ordeals, but that was pretty rude, and I'm happy I was fading it for as long as I did.
We sure do remember that Valis into Golbez. That was a heck of a no. Your underground access isn't here.
Yeah, I was like, well, I didn't feel like doing ordeals. There was no sign of Tella, so let's just fade it. And then, when you have the hook and there's not many choices left, it's like, all right, let's do it now. And you kind of feel good after that, just because you realize, well, if Blaze tried to do this early, he might have struggled on the Valis or had to reset out. So that was a good way to start it off once I got to that point. I will say, though, when I got underground, saw the Dark Imps, and I don't know if I had size at the time, but in my mind, I didn't have a way to cheese them other than trying Medusa arrows, which I'm not very good with. But after I did Dwarf, I realized, no, I definitely have size now. I should just give it a shot before heading to the moon. And then as I was in that fight, I saw moonblazewolf was typing in chat, and I just assumed he was in the Zeromus fight at that point. And so that made the Zeromus fight a lot more stressful than it needed to be, since it is such a long fight. So that was fun.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, so I know you like to have a couple palums if you can. If you had had a second palum, would you have taken some time to do some bluffs, or would that, having seen Blaze type, would that have caused you to not go through that strategy?
I think if I was able to get a second palum, I would have done some bluffs. Yeah, I think that would have been faster. Probably not too much faster because you can't skip the second big bang at that point. So I don't know. It just you'd be reflecting viruses versus having to throw the heal pod or vampire and see the counter nuke animation. It's probably a wash with two, but I probably still would have done it just because.
So the clutch play here seemed to be to routing in that music check in before diving the underground. Why did you decide to route that there?
I, in general, don't like to leave any checks hanging before diving the hook, aside from the moon, which is a whole nother thing. But so in most seeds I'll play, if I have, like I had Zot, I had music. I actually forgot I had the twin harp until after I did Zot, which I guess is fine because I had exit to leave it, so it's probably a wash.
Yeah, we were
But,
wondering if that was because both of you did that same play of doing Zot first. So we were wondering if that was a character check over the twin harp, or just looking to get exit first so that you could exit out quickly.
I mean, that's what I'm telling myself after the fact. Yeah, I did it, so I had exit, but I just completely forgot I had the twin harp at that point. So otherwise, I probably would have done it the other order, since my team was pretty physically oriented, so I didn't really fear much of what could have been in Cave Magnus.
Yeah, and did you enjoy seeing those D-Lunars there and that party of all people with alternate ways of dealing physical damage?
Never really enjoy seeing the D-Lunars there, but I was happy with my party to be able to get through them there. But yeah, I'm always nervous with them, especially in that spot, because it's like, all right, well, these fires are percentage base. Can I outlast them? Do I have enough arrows? Because now your arrows actually matter. You can't just berserk. But yeah, I was more disappointed in the hook boss, which was like, do I have enough cure potions to get through this? And do we do it anyway?
Yeah, were you tempted to go back and pick up a second rose and maybe get some levels on her for some extra curatives?
Wasn't tempted to do that. If anything, I would have just bought a stack of cure pots or taken off the heroine robe. But I figured if I just let Yang die, I should have enough. But once Yang died, it seemed like there were a lot more mazers being cast than there were before, so that might not have been the smart play. But, I mean, got through it, so it was fine. But I never enjoy seeing a CPU at that spot.
No, that's a slow, boring fight, especially and with the three characters that you had. One that's not super appealing, just because of that percent base damage, and Yang had a good bit of HP for you there.
Yeah, that was actually a problem. Like, oh, he has too much HP. If I heal him, I'm just going to burn my cure pots, so I'm just going to let him die. But yeah, I think I like the seed overall. I'm happy I decided not to go moon. And part of that's also because I want to do the low-level strats without grinding. So if I go to the moon, then I'm basically saying, all right, well, now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have too many levels. Yeah, so happy to be able to pull that off in a race.
Yeah, they were wonderfully executed. Were you very happy to see those vampires on the moon?
I didn't really care about the vampires. I had Rosa who could cure if needed, so I could just go for a little prolonged fight. The vampires make it easier, but if they weren't there, I'd probably be using some viruses on Palom and just time the cures with Rosa so that I don't have to spend the actions doing throwing cure 3s. I think I had 5, so I could get through the second Big Bang.
So you're kind of become known when these flag sets were announced for those 1200 HP strategies. Is there a point in this seed that you said I'm 100% going for the 1200 HP strats, or were you kind of playing it from moment to moment?
I mean, that point was go mode, so I guess that is a yes and a no, depending on how you meant that question. Prior to getting go mode, I was assuming I'd have to do moon fights, and at that point, I'm just going to get a lot of experience I had a pretty beefy team and I had a Rosa. So I would just assume that I'm not going to be doing those strats because it'd be faster to just, take one extra fight to get to save Zeromus levels. But I'm always keeping in the back of my mind, like, hey, if I have the party set up. I guess I could have had 2 more characters for most of the seed, but it just never seemed to matter, so I didn't bother. So I had the party set up, so I always have that as an option, and that's my preference at this point. But I basically let the seed play it out and see when I get go mode.
Is that something you found through most of these stable flag seeds, of that having a smaller party doesn't really negatively impact your time through the overworld?
Yeah, if you have good characters, then it doesn't really slow you down much. There are a few bosses where you might run into, like a plague at a rude spot could, just like enough people to like kill and resurrect to get through that. Or there's a few other bosses, but there's also like Golbez where you have a small party, it actually helps you. So I'm not going to say it evens out. It's probably a little faster with a larger party, but you don't really need the larger party if you have good gear.
So you moved to 3-0 in the table stage. That one more win pretty much puts you as a lock for the round of 16. You do have your match against Dia coming up on Sunday, and that's been highly anticipated just because of both of your preferences to do those low-level strategies. Are you thinking about doing those low-level strategies going in there, or is that just another seed, another opponent, and going to play it as you normally do?
I'm going to play it the way I normally do. I'm always going in assuming I'm going to do low-level strategies, but that's regardless of the opponent. And if I end up doing them, great. If not, then that's the way the seed routed out. So yeah, I'm not, because it's Dia doesn't mean I'm going to like switch my strategy or anything. I'm going to play the way I've been playing. I know Dia likes to gamble a lot on like taking fights that she just assumes she can get through, and so far it's burned her in like a lot of her. I don't know what her record is. I guess she's 5-0, I believe, right?
4-1 as of yesterday.
Oh, that's right. She lost to Invent. So it's like burned her a lot, but she's been able to get through it in the first few matches. Obviously, yesterday's was different, but I'm worried that she's actually going to get a seed that's actually plays to her strengths, and she can just blitz through it, and I'm not going to have a shot at that point, but, we'll see. I don't want to change up how I play because of that.
Yeah, and what you said, it definitely plays to life, because yesterday she played all mages like she likes to do. She likes mage parties, and ended up against a required Vivalis, which mage parties do not like. So you do have a point there.
Yeah, and plus playing to your comfort is always something that is, I like to do anyway. You sometimes scout out your opponent to find tendencies, but you figure out what in your strategy book you're comfortable with, and to kind of counter it, rather than playing their game that maybe you're not as used to doing, and could kind of tilt you a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, there's like small tweaks you can make, like some routing decisions based on the opponent, but in general, you don't want to change up things too much, because then you're not really comfortable with what you're doing, and then you're more likely to make mistakes.
Yeah, and against players at the caliber of Dia, mistakes are so costly.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you as well. Like, both of you are people I fear to go up against and make mistakes, because I know it's going to put me that little bit further behind.
Yeah, I think, at least based on our match in the Fabul Gauntlet, we can both get tilted pretty easily. So it's like, if I start like banging my head against a hook seed, or like trying to get through a hook boss, I'm more likely to just constantly go at it thinking I'll get through it the next time, than try to leave and get better prepared. And I feel like Dia is similar up to a point, so could make for interesting seeds.
Yeah, I think it's hard to take a moment to kind of reassess when you're going against a hard hook boss, especially if you get close a time or two, just because you've suddenly sunk all that time into trying to do it. So backing out and stepping away is awfully hard to do.
There's definitely a sunk cost fallacy there.
Yeah, I'm all about getting pot committed to things I shouldn't be in, and just saying, well, I'm here, so we're going to keep doing this.
Yep, and you're definitely a good enough runner to actually make it through eventually, too, even though it might cost you a little bit more time than grinding out a couple more levels.
Yep. Yeah, the problem is knowing you can get through it. I can get
Exactly.
through this, so
Like if that AI is a little bit kinder to me, if the RNG doesn't take out this character right away, then I can get through this, right?
yep. Yeah, but going back to the seed, I always enjoy getting a heroine robe. Can really make things a lot more fun.
Yeah, the heron robe and also the ninja hat and Gundry Spear were very key for you. Able to get Kane to jump over that plague early in Fabul was very nice, and actually just one-shotting plague with the Gundry Spear was super nice. Blades actually wiped there initially because he hadn't done that same dive that you like to do into Eplin Castle.
Yeah, I mean, I give up a few minutes doing it, but sometimes it might be empty, sometimes it won't. But I always like the reason I first got into randomizers was always for it's fun to just see what you get, and looting is always fun. I know to actually get good times, you need to stop your looting and not loot too much, but that's still the part I really enjoy about it. So I'm giving myself my Evelyn checks in the beginning of most seeds just for that.
Yeah, plus I think it lets you turn off the loot goblin a little bit earlier once you've done the looting on something that's pretty high tier, like that can be, because that can then shut you down a little bit earlier to pick up other chests later.
Yeah, that's also how I try to think about it. It's like, all right, I'm going to loot a lot early, and then after that, we're just only going to loot whatever we literally walk by. And it should average out, but, we'll see.
Yep. Gundam, do you have any other questions for Zilch tonight?
Oh, no other questions from me. Just good game one more time, and best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you. Thanks for the commentary, Anti and GPS. Thanks for tracking Imperial. And Pancraz, thanks for restreaming. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you, Zilch. It was a pleasure watching your race, and definitely looking forward to seeing more of your races throughout the tournament.
All right. Thank you.
So while we were talking to Zilch, moonblazewolf did finish up getting through that sealed cave. Did a little bit extra grinding on his way up to the through the lunar subterranean for the final time, and now is in his Zeromus fight.
Yeah, he made good use of getting that Siren. Did a Warlock grind a little bit, just get some extra levels. They have definitely come a little bit in handy here. Rosa unfortunately takes a high roll to this Big Bang. Her HP runs out. Kane does not get a chance to throw the curative on her. We're in a bit of a pickle here.
Yeah, Big Bang into the virus script. That's just unfortunate with such a high roll.
Yeah, but one thing that Blaze did do very well during that extra supplemental grind was to knock Cecil out before finishing the fight. Cecil, I believe, at that HP total is either at level 44 or 45, which puts him at a natural 28 agility, which is a very important number in the Zeromus fight. You're looking for multiples of 14 that are greater than 14 in order to change the relative agility that Zeromus acts at. Anything less than 28 agility, Zeromus goes at relative agility 1. 28, he starts going at relative agility 2. So that's your first breakpoint where you kind of start getting a little bit of a speed advantage when you have an anchor who doesn't put the rest of your team at relative agility 1.
Yeah, 27 is a bad agility. 28 is a just fine agility. So manipulating the agility can get just that precise at times.
Yeah, and the reason why it's so bad is that just there's no fractional numbers, so you either act on every ATB tick or act on every other ATB tick. And 27 is where Zeromus acts on every ATB tick, and that also means the rest of your party is pretty much as slow as they are, because they're not at 69 agility like Zeromus is during this fight. So your party is going at relative agility like 4, 5, or 6, but Zeromus is at 1. That's real bad. If you can put Zeromus at 2 and your party at 4, 5, and 6, well, that's a lot better for
you. The agility math is definitely, I think, something that even the best runners kind of always have to run through their head as they make their way through seeds and approach Zeromus. Getting those magic numbers is really key to finishing with a good time.
Yeah, it definitely helps to keep a couple of them memorized. You want to know your 28 for Zeromus at relative agility 2. You want to know that the anyone on your team is relative agility 1 when they are more than 2.5 times the agility of your anchor. So say your anchor is at 10 agility, that means you're looking for 26 on everyone to put them to relative agility 1. So just like you don't have to memorize too much in order to get some of the basics that carry you through most seeds. It gets really tricky and interesting when you start fighting Wyvern in weird places and don't have full parties. And then you start really getting into the nitty gritty of timers and who expires and re-enters the queue and blah, blah, blah. And there's a small handful of people who are very good at those numbers. I'm definitely not one of them. But the game can get as complicated as you want it to get.
Yeah, Wyvern very specifically is one that having that Cecil is on vanilla agility is a detriment for, because if you're not prepared for it and your Cecil's at 26, 27 agility, that Wyvern moves really fast and you'll have a really hard time getting that Star Veil up.
Yeah, and Blaze is doing a really good job of managing this fight. He got an unsolicited nuke from Zeromus, which means that we are into phase 2. So we're just going to try and keep the Berserks going. Hopefully Rosa doesn't get high rolled too much. Maybe Rosa will probably try to life somebody up directly after this big bang, and then throw a Cure 4 if we can.
Yeah, I think Blaze having a little bit of bad luck here with these really high rolls, and that direct nuke hitting Cecil, hitting the Big Bang previously killing Rosa. Like it's a lot of high rolls and a lot of damage done to even characters with a lot of HP.
Yeah, but he's managing really, really well through it, keeping the party alive, keeping the damage coming with that Zerk Cecil, doing as much as he can to just whittle away Zeromus. Getting a Cure 3 out here should pretty much full heal these two, just because as you have fewer people out, each cure does a little bit more. So not quite full, but pretty close. But with a black hole, it's a good time to reset anyway.
Yeah, of course, our Excalibur Cecil is doing a lot of work in this fight, throwing those 3,500 damage rolls when berserked.
Oh, and a really nice target with that direct nuke. Cecil not taking enough damage to knock him out. We're going to get that berserk going. We're going to get some Cure 3s. Rosa is nearing the end of her pool, though, so we are hoping to see rocks pretty soon for Blaze.
Yeah, would have probably been a wipe if that and Meteor comes out. Might have been a wipe if that nuke hit Rosa, because we would have lost a turn on that magic cast. Would have had to bring Rosa back up. Cecil would be in a bad position there.
Yeah, but getting Meteor, getting those rocks means that we're 1,200 or 12,000 HP or less. Cecil, with getting that Cure 3, is absolutely going to be fine. Berserking through the rest of this, not a problem for Blaze. And indeed, that is a crack, a boom. That is a fading Shinryu miss. GG's to moonblazewolf, completing the seed in 159.06. Just having a heck of a time with the routing a little bit, but doing a wonderful job in that Z fight at those levels with having to deal with vanilla agility, which frankly a lot of us are not in any practice with doing.
Yeah, the amount of the seed that Blaze saw here to finish in an hour 59 is very impressive, especially with having to get through that sealed cave at the very end.
And I believe we are joined by moonblazewolf. GG's, Moon.
Thank you.
I know that you're probably a little bit disappointed at effectively seeing your Threemus Zone 3 tournament hopes kind of die here.
I guess I'm not that upset. I felt like I played really well tonight. I just got very unlucky fading the one spot that had darkness, and the rest of the party came together really well. The progression through the seed was really nice, but yeah, just picked wrong yet again, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. It happens. I was really happy to get through that Z fight. It got a little hairy, and some of the other fights. I mean, that's the first time I've had to fight anything on the moon, I think, other than something that was like a required objective after I'd done a D machine grind or something in all 4 of my matches. So it was fun just to kind of get up there and poke at the moon a little bit, like hunting.
Yeah, that was some really nice play. That Z fight was wonderful. You did a great job of pulling that out and just managing it very, very well. And also just going up to the moon, did it help to have those 2 white mages to kind of blink through those really rude bosses?
Yeah, definitely. I think once I had the Xcal, I knew, and there hadn't been a Tela, I knew I was just like, okay, there's not really going to be an easy slingshot here. Let's just grab a Porum and make sure that we have a good party for the rest of the way. And I thought it might be a situation where I was going to have to maybe use the zilch strat, so I wanted to get my party going and up and running as soon as possible to start tacking some levels onto them.
Yeah, just a little bit of unfortunate routing for you, but otherwise very good. I mean, you were through the kind of rude CPU before Zilch was. You did peak the Dark Imps. Did you ever think about going back and taking on that fight? It's a very punchy fight, but probably your Cecil could have pushed you through it.
I knew I was gonna go back there, or I felt confident that I could go back there after Twin Harp if that had been a dud. But when I saw the Darkness Crystal through the Twin Harp, I felt really, really behind, and I just wanted to get up to the moon.
Yeah, we kind of figured that was what drove that decision to immediately take the moon, because with the party that you both had early, those D-Lunars weren't going to be too much of a struggle, having Kane, Yang, and Rosa all on the team.
Yeah, I think I felt really confident, especially with the Odin fight, with Thunderclaw and Xcal, lots of Blink. It didn't seem like it was going to be too much trouble at all in the Fey March. The Dark Imps fight actually scared me more. I figured I was going to have to get Rosa to land like a size or something like that, but I knew I could have taken them. It's just the moon has so many more spots, and I wanted to get my 10th key item. I wanted to be able to get that XP racked up so that I was getting closer to endgame ready. And then obviously the Luca key, which I did find up there, was a lot slower than just being able to forge the Xcal for Go mode as well.
Yeah, but it did give you a chance to do a little bit of door grind, so you had a good time just going through all different ways that we can get experience there. Moon bosses, do some doors, get that siren, do a nice warlock grind. So you definitely showed a lot of versatility there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare the seed where you don't end up doing either a Mac Giant or a D Machine in this format. But hey, there was Nutella, and by the power level that you had by the time you got underground was good enough just to keep going. So, I mean, that's kind of a rare thing in this flag set where you actually do have to kind of cobble together the experience or the grind for yourself. So yeah, a little bit of ingenuity there. I'm really glad that I was able to get that Siren to do the Warlock grinder. I think I might have wiped to that Zeromus. The extra levels really helped out, I'm sure.
Yeah, Rosa definitely took a couple of close calls, even with the one where HP did run out. I think those levels absolutely helped you there.
So, I mean, all in all, I'm really happy with the race. It's just a little bit of bad luck not finding the Darkness Crystal right away, and just really bad luck. Like, I think I went from Dwarf Castle, which was nothing, to Keyless Tower, which was nothing, to Odin Spot was nothing. It was just I kept coming up empty, and that was just kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and that's kind of been from what races I've seen, just that you've played very, very well in table flags. You've just not routed the way the seed intended you to route in order to go as fast as possible. And it's just one of those, rando has randoed you 4 times in a row.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of that. It's really weird. 3 of my 4 seeds have had basically a really incentivized Cecil play, which is very uncommon. One was a Cecil start. 2 of them had like my 3rd race had an Avenger. This one had that Xcal. So I've had a lot of Cecil in my Threemus Zone experience, and I know coming into it that was not something I expected very much of. So it's just I've gotten some really odd seeds. I felt like this one was a little bit more straightforward, or a little bit more typical, I guess I would say, but I don't know, like in terms of like what the completion percentage was to finish it, but maybe not, because like, I could probably count on one hand, or maybe a little bit more, the number of times I've gone through a seed like that where I did get my party to endgame levels, but it didn't involve like a D Machine or a Mac Giant. So it's just, yeah, it's an interesting format for sure, but yeah, I just I haven't really had that race where I've played really well and gotten the luck on my side. So but it is what it is. Zilch is just incredibly good. Like when I first saw my 6 opponents, Zilch was one of the ones that stuck out to me as just like, oh man, that's going to be a really tough match. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that I got the loss, and I'm really happy with how I've played. I'm really happy with being able to participate in the event, and just really grateful to everybody that's been making the event so awesome.
Yeah, and I think you played really well, and also you faced an absolute murderer's row of competition so far too. Like you had one of, uh, it feels to me clearly more difficult round of 6 people to go through to try and advance into the top 16.
Yeah, I think so. And it is not to say that other people didn't have difficult routes as well, but it's just part of the deal. And I'm happy to have a match tonight finally where I felt like I basically didn't make any mistakes other than routing decisions, which I don't consider mistakes, and just executed really well and just didn't come up with the win, but I still feel like I played great. And hats off to Zilch for getting that 3rd win. I got 2 more matches. Hopefully I'll get a couple wins and still end up with a very respectable record considering the path that was laid before me.
And I think that is one of the beautiful things about free enterprise. It's one of the beautiful things, and one of the frustrating things is that you can play perfectly and still come up a little bit short if your opponent just made that right decision.
Margin for error in all of my races has just been so small, and that's what happens when everybody's really good and you get good opponents. Is you either make one mistake or one bad decision, and it's just you're probably not going to win as long as they execute well, and the high level players of this community always do. So it is what it is. But yeah, just thank you so much for helping out with the restream tonight. Thank you everybody that came out to watch. Really appreciate it, and I'm gonna enjoy my last couple matches of the event here, and then hopefully be able to do some more commentary, more behind the scenes stuff as well to bring you this awesome event the rest of the way.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to those last couple of matches, Blaze. GG's again. That was a good run. Just really unfortunate, as we said, that the routing did not work out for you. But as always, a pleasure to watch you run and a pleasure to commentate for you.
Hey, thanks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we want to remind everyone who's watching to give our runners a follow. They're some of the top tier in the free enterprise community. They do a lot of practice and test out the strategies that they showcase here during our restream. So give them a follow and show them some love.
Yep, and the racing is not done tonight. We are about to head over to Randomania for another match that is in progress currently. Please do not spoil the results of this one. We know a lot of people do like to come in and watch the VODs afterwards. But thank you, Pankraz, for doing the restream, Imperial Dragon for clicking all the buttons, and Gundapilot Spaz, thank you for being a wonderful co-commentator. It's always a blast. And thank you all very much for watching.
Have a good evening, everyone.